this event. So the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association has given myself and my committee the ability to find out direct perspectives from women, and so that we can provide the fire chiefs in the Central Ohio and the surrounding Ohio, state of Ohio, the perspectives and the challenges and the solutions that we come up with for women on the fire departments as they take their journey into the fire service. But I got a couple thank yous that I have to do. First, if you'll give me that time, I'd like to thank our Public Safety Director, Robert, for supporting our minority hiring. I also like to thank the City of Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther with his initiatives, which is diversity and inclusion, which includes having minorities and women being a focus for opportunities for jobs in Columbus here. But I'd also like to thank our fire chief for allowing us to host this event today. To tout him just a little bit, he is a huge advocate for women in the fire service, and he has tripled our diversity numbers here in our division in his short term of 2 years so far. But I'd like to introduce to you Fire Chief Jeffrey Happ for opening comments.
Well, thank you, Tracy. Chief Smith. I certainly wasn't expecting to come up here and speak. However, the support, Chief Smith and all these fine women up here, show my support and be here with them. But every day we're doing our own thing to show our support. But this is just one of the ways I can to come out here and be here and support this program, not only today but every single day. But the fire department's changed so much from when I came on 29 years ago, and I again won't say too much, but it's changed a lot in the 29 years to where we used to be mostly heavily fire, now we're mostly EMS. So it's so important to bring both the men and women together to work on this, to be a part of our team, because we know the compassion that women have as well as working when they work with men as well, and men can also be a little more compassionate. So when we go out to the public and work together to make a better result, have better results on it. So I just want to thank you all for showing up, and we will do everything we can to get you on the department to help you succeed and be successful with the Columbus Division of Fire. So thank you so much for being here, Chief Smith, and all these fine people. Thank you for being a part of this and help drive numbers up on women in fire service. Thank you.
Go back to my height now. All right. So here's the opportunity that we'd like to share with you, and we have some live viewers as well. I was privileged enough to be asked by the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association to just be the chairperson of a committee for women in the fire service. I'm blessed with the fact that I've got numerous women across the state of Ohio that are phenomenal leaders in their own departments. And unfortunately, I only have 4 of them here today. One of our panelists was supposed to be Kristen, and she unfortunately had a family emergency, so we hope that gets resolved fairly quickly, and our thoughts are with her. It's working. But what I like to do is, you have the brochure there, your program that tells who these bios are, but I'd love for them to introduce themselves, tell them about themselves, how they got started in the fire service, and then also tell you what their demographics are in their individual departments. Chief?
Thank you, Chief Smith. I didn't know there was going to be a test on numbers. My name is Allison Armstrong. I am the chief of the Toledo Fire and Rescue Department. I've been a firefighter for 22 years, was appointed as chief in February of this year. I'm a paramedic, a registered nurse, and for me, I always wanted to be a Toledo firefighter. That was my goal as a child. And my brother, who's 4 years older, was in an Explorer group, so I wanted to do what my big brother did, and that's kind of how I fell in love with the fire service. So I got hired on the Toledo Fire Department when I was 21, and then worked my way up the ranks. Like I said, went to paramedic school, took all the training that was afforded to me, and here I am. So as far as, I'm going to speak specifically to women in the fire service, or women in our department. So the Toledo Fire and Rescue Department started hiring women back in 1984, and the chief at the time and the affirmative action office and the diversity office, which it had a different name, but I don't remember what it was. There were some women in those offices that were like, why don't we have women on this job? They can do the job too. And so they really pushed for that, and the chief was receptive, and so they started hiring women, and then we modified stations. We have a lot of old stations, but we had to modify them to include both female and male locker rooms, and so that was all accomplished. And today, we are far exceeding the national average for females on our department. We're at 13%, and the national average, I think, is about 4 or 5%. So I have 580 uniformed officers, or firefighters, and about 75 are women. So we've done a fairly good job. I mean, there's more work to be done. And my message to everybody is that, this is a job that is inclusive. Men can do it, women can do it, different races. So I just want to make sure everybody is aware of the opportunity to be a firefighter, and that they know they can have this job too, and that we will welcome that, we'll train you, and make sure that you're successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I am Sierjie Lash from Akron Fire. I have almost 19 years on the job in Akron. I am both a paramedic, currently am the recruiting officer, and again, newly promoted captain, so I appreciate that as well, and I'm learning that role. I hope you all can hear me. In Akron, our numbers are not as great as Toledo, but we are working on it. We are impressing upon our personnel the importance and the value of being a welcoming department as well as being a welcoming city. When I was hired all those years ago, I was the number 6th female, and there were more before me that just didn't last on the job for a number of reasons, and that's what we're working on for retention and resiliency in our workforce. But I was the number 6th. All these years later, we are now up to, as of today, 26 females, but that number is out of 370, so our percentage is still low. But we're working on that. We want to welcome females with our demographics in our city, just like our country being about 50-50, 49-51. We want to make sure we welcome females, minorities, multiculturals into our department so that our department mirrors our city as close as possible, and our citizens, our residents, our community, our visitors feel comfortable when they call out for our safety forces. So we welcome you, ask questions. We want to see you on the job as well. So welcome tonight.
Thanks, Cap. My name is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, clap. My name is Alexis Mundy. I am a lieutenant with the Cincinnati Fire Department. I have been on the job just a short time. Anytime women like this precede me, I'm like, I'm just a baby. So I've been on for 9 years now, and I am currently assigned to the training division. Prior to that, I was a traveling lieutenant out on the companies. Currently getting ready to host our next fire recruit class starting Monday. We have 5 women coming in then. That will bring our numbers to about 57 total out of our 840 roughly staff. So not where we want to be, but certainly, I know, catch up, Columbus. Certainly moving along. We have increased our numbers tremendously over the years. As a lieutenant with the fire department, I also helped with the beginnings of our Cincinnati Fire Women Employee Resource Group. That group was formed because we don't have the fortunes that they have here in Columbus or up in Toledo to have women in those chief level positions. So we wanted to make sure that women have a voice at tables where they're not usually seated. So we've been working diligently over the last few years to ensure that we have appropriate facilities, uniforms that are actually for females. We've been able to change some appearance policies that were obviously made by men, and just little things like that just to make the job more inclusive of women. And then when it comes to the training division, I think my passion there is really just being a listening ear, not just for the women, but for everybody that's there, to really assure them that, yes, you will have hard days. This will be the hardest thing that you probably do in your life. But when you get to the other side, as I like to say, it is one of the most rewarding careers. So So happy that we're here in Columbus. We did this up the road a little while ago, and it was successful there. We're going to do one in Cincinnati here, hopefully in a couple of months. And we really just want to continue driving this train. It is very impactful to have a group of women in this room, whether you're already certified as a firefighter or considering becoming certified as a firefighter, who are willing to take on the challenge of this work. So I'm happy to be here, and I hope you guys are too.
My name's Elizabeth Finnegan. I am on Columbus Division of Fire, so welcome to my house. I appreciate everyone coming out and getting get info from all these wonderful women. I've been on the department, I'm the baby of the group, just under 6 years. Our department is just roughly about 1,570 firefighters. We have 56 women. So when I say give a clap up to Akron for their numbers, or for Toledo for their numbers, it's because I know the struggle being here with 1,570 firefighters and only 56 women. When I started the department, we only had about 24 women. So in the short time that I've been here, we've grown, but we still have a long way to go. But again, like Lieutenant Mundy said, once you get on the other side of the academy and into the job, it is one of the best things that has ever happened in my life. I am so grateful and so blessed to be a part of the department and be a part of the brotherhood, sisterhood of fire service. It is so rewarding every day. You actually save people's lives every day, whether it's the stomach ache or, pulling someone from a fire. Like, you are saving lives and impacting lives every day. So please feel free to ask any questions. We are open and honest with you about our experiences here on the departments. And Chief.
I want to make sure you guys can all take a look at them. They're fabulous women doing fabulous things for the women in the fire service. And you're here at our host site in Columbus, but let me tell you, any of these departments are phenomenal places to work. And then all across the state of Ohio have opportunities for women. But being the largest metropolitan department in the state of Ohio, we want to be like Toledo. We want to be the leader. We want to have that 30% or so of women on the fire department representing all of our city of Columbus and to be a part of our community. So these women have been phenomenal in teaching me a lot about what our needs are. So I've been, like I said, I've been blessed that Captain Lash has done a lot for me in regards to facilities and gear and making sure that we have lactation rooms for people. But what I want to achieve out of today is this. You saw our tag is, if only I knew. So we've all experienced things through our careers and starting and recruiting and hiring, the academy, getting the station life, getting promoted and doing advancement, and having things, if I only knew this, if I wish I only knew that. And I'm sure that there's things that we can share with you, but then you can also help us in return the favor in saying, if you only knew, if you got me in middle school, if you only knew you recruited me here, if you only knew you do this in your stations, this would be the outcome. So we hope that this whole panel is interactive. So as they go through different stages and phases of comments and information for you, please raise your hand and ask those questions or add value to what we're doing here. That's the expectation today. So I appreciate if you'll do that. So Chief, I'll start with you real quick. How do you think for Toledo, what's your goal and how do you outreach women specifically during your recruitment events?
Well, I'll start by saying this. So recruitment for everybody has taken on a whole different meaning, because when I took the test back in, I think it would have been 99, I took the civil service test. The civil service test was offered every 2 years, and simply fill out an interest card. The department put an ad in the paper. People just showed up. Thousands of people, they showed up. That's all we had to do. So fast forward to today. I mean, it's very competitive, the workforce, and it's very cutthroat out there as far as benefits and wages and all that stuff. So we adapted a couple years ago to what I would call is more like targeted recruitment, so that we go out and we actually seek people out that we think would make good firefighters, and we tell them about the fire service. So we go to community events, we go to college athletic games, we go to high schools, we go anywhere where there are people, and specifically a diverse group of people, because like somebody else had said, I want my department to reflect the community which we serve, and we're not there yet, so we're trying to get there. And so we actually, one of the places we recruited a number of women and athletic type people was a jiu-jitsu gym, because those are the type of people that have the personality, the strength, the stamina, and maybe the fortitude to do this job well. But many times what we find out is when talking to people, they never considered a career in the fire service. They've never been exposed to it, and unless you know somebody or you have a family member or some other exposure, you kind of don't know what you don't know. So we start talking to people and we explain to them, what the pay is, what the benefits are, what the schedule is, the things about the job that we do. And, we have to engage people and show them what the job's all about. The problem with that is it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of personnel. It takes a lot of time. And I think all of us are probably strapped for staffing. So I have a recruitment team that does that, and we seek out, like I said, a diverse, qualified group of people, and we give them the information and push them towards the testing so that they can go through the process, and hopefully we'll hire them. So I just want to put a quick plug in. We are testing right now, National Testing Network. Join ToledoFire.com. Check that out. But I hope that answers your question. I start talking, and then I forget what the original question was, and then I just talk about the things that come to mind. So I hope it answered it, Chief.
It's completely more interesting when you just go off on a tangent, so we get more information. From the audience perspective, where did you all hear from this? Like, how old is everybody in here that you found out about the fire service? 23? 28. 28?
31.
31?
23. 20.
So I was 31 when I found out about it. What about you, Alexis?
I was 1920. The only reason why I found out it was because I was in a paramedic program. You have to go do ride time, right? I was in a paramedic program because I wanted to be a flight nurse. So I thought that was a good way to kind of get that emergency side experience. But I know for me, it was nothing that I ever thought about when I was a teenager, when I was a little kid. I certainly didn't see women as firefighters. I mean, Chicago Fire is nice now, right? It plants the seed for us in some people's mind, but also not very realistic in your hometown. You think it's a TV show. Maybe that's just on TV. But if you don't mind, Trace, how many people in the room are actively seeking possibly a career in fire? Like aren't already certified? Okay, that's awesome. And thank you to the certified people who are here with us today. I kind of just wanted to get a feel for our audience because, I mean, we're trying to grab every single one of you right now. So I wanted to know who we were talking to.
So did everybody that is looking to be certified or become a firefighter, and somebody said 31 as well as I was, do you think it would be better in your life if we got a hold of you earlier and we told you the opportunities that were there for you? How many think yes? When? When do you think we should have captured you? Middle school? Middle school? Elementary school? Sierjie, go ahead.
So now we're finding out, just like you're saying, middle school. We've got our Explorer programs, like Chief said. We've kind of reopened our Explorer program in Akron. And exploring is essentially, I think, 14 to 21. But we've been talking to our scouting organizations. I believe they've opened up a little leeway and they've allowed us to go into middle schools as well. It helps for that exposure. I'm one of those as well. I said, I've never seen a female firefighter before I got hired. When they did recruiting for my test way back when, they said, sign up for our test. We need ladies on our job. Again, I said I was number 6. And I told them, why would I sign up for that test? I've never in my life seen a female firefighter. That is not a job that I think would suit me. And here I am almost 19 years later. But again, I had never seen a female firefighter. So it is important, like you said, to go out in the community, show the community that there are female firefighters, that there are a diverse group of firefighters that want to include you in our group. We want you to get hired. We want you to see the opportunities that are out there. We want you to have your questions answered. So it is very important, again, that you join our workforces. Again, just like Toledo, Akron is also hiring. So we are hiring right now. So I don't say that to say I want you to leave Columbus. I kind of do. But I don't say that for that reason. What I want you to do is sign up for all of our tests. Get the practice. Do I want you to pass on the first time and get hired the first time? I absolutely do. But go ahead and sign up for all of those tests because they're out there. We've got expiration dates on these applications. Sign up for them. You never know which one you'll get pulled for first. You never know how many opportunities are out there. A few years ago, Akron expanded our opportunities. We used to hire 21 through 31 years old. We've expanded that. Now it's 18 years old to 35. So look and see what's out there. Look and see what cities are hiring. All of us would like to hire any of you or all of you. So don't take that for granted. And yes, we're listening. We're going out. We're showing the cities that we are here and these jobs are available for you.
I'm going to piggyback on that and just give a testimony. When I decided that the fire service was what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be, I went and applied to everything that was in any job that was in a 2-hour radius of Cincinnati, or my hometown. So I did Transylvania, Kentucky, Louisville, Cincinnati, Springfield, Dayton, Columbus. I was just testing anywhere within a 2-hour radius of home. And it's funny story. I was on the list for Cincinnati and was scheduled to be in their spring class, and someone dropped out of the class here in Columbus, and they called. And so they're always like, "You coming home? You come?" Cincinnati's always trying to get me back home. But at the time, it was the saying, "A bird in the hand is better than two in the bush." So Columbus called me, and I took that opportunity. And again, I'm so grateful to be here. And I always say, God doesn't make mistakes. He knew exactly where he wanted me to be. The impact that I've been able to make here in Columbus is incredible, that I, in the short time that I've been here, can be a part of this women's panel. Again, our numbers have doubled since I've been on the department. And not just because of me, but I know that when I left my exit interview as a recruit, I said that I wanted to get more people on the department that are females and that look like me. Because, again, there was only 22 women on the department. There were only 4 black women at the time on the department. We now have 8 African-American females on the department, and we're up to 56 women. So I think that we're going in that right direction, and I'm happy to be a part of that change and a part of that push.
Does anybody here have any questions about recruiting or anything in regards to like hiring?
Nobody wants to know how to get a job? What you got?
Do you know where they're at on the list right now?
For Columbus Fire,
Yes.
we are in the process of going through Band 1. So they just started sending out the personal history statements for Band 1, and they're going through that whole process for the December class.
Okay, thank you.
What band are you in?
2.
Band 2?
Hang tight, it won't be long.
They'll get to you.
They're coming. And
Hey, Liz, can you do me a favor? And do you have a question? Somebody have a question? Liz, can you tell me a little bit about testing from Columbus's perspective, and then we can listen to the different types of testing that they have? What challenges that they might encounter, and then how do you
Yes.
overcome those?
So Columbus testing process has the firefighter oral assessment mechanism, or the foam, which has been very difficult for a lot of people. If you just come in and think like, oh, I know math, I know reading, but the foam is a computer screen that gives you scenarios, and you have to put yourself in those scenarios and answer as if you were in the scenario. So there's 6 different scenarios, and you have to, someone is trying to steal a piece of jewelry from someone's house, and you have to try to put yourself in that situation, problem solve, and make the right decisions, and kind of give an example or give a statement for that scenario. And a lot of people, a lot of younger people, unfortunately don't have those communication skills yet, just because they don't have life experience. So it's hard for a lot of the younger people to get a good score on the phone because they haven't had those life experiences. And also because of such a digital world, a lot of younger people text and don't have those hard conversations. So that testing process can be a shocker for some who have to sit and answer those questions in front of the computer screen. And it's just an awkward test in general, just sitting in front of a computer screen and talking back and forth to it. And so recruitment does some study sessions to help you prepare for that. But it's one of the hardest things I think about our testing process is that phone. Overall, there's 6 steps throughout the whole process. So the first step is the written, the phone, the physical. You do the Firefighter Mile, which is our entry-level exam. Then you come and do your personal history questionnaire and your background. You take a polygraph, and then you do an actual medical exam, which includes a stress test and like sit and reach back, like when you do your physical for if you did sports or anything. It's kind of like a sports physical along with the VO2 max testing. And then you take a psych test and an oral board exam where you're in front of a panel of people and they ask you questions about your history and why you want to be on the fire department. So it's a long, lengthy process, but once you get through it, again, it's very rewarding, and you get in the academy and start your lottery win.
I can speak to Cincinnati's process, and what you'll find, even though I think we're all civil service based, meaning that you do not have to have certifications prior to coming in. There are certainly opportunities like that in different areas where you can go and get your certs and just get hired onto the department straight away. These are all opportunities in which you essentially get paid to get your certifications while you're in drill school. And so for Cincinnati, we have less money and less time. So they're all lengthy processes, right? Like none of them is like you sign up today, you get hired tomorrow. So it takes a little bit of resilience, and we lose people throughout the process for that reason. But Cincinnati has a written exam that you take. We will not test this year. We'll probably not test until late next year or the beginning of 2024. Once you take our written exam, you do a physical examination if you've passed that. We do not have a standardized test that you can like find online somewhere. Cincinnati makes their homegrown physical ability test, and it's pretty straightforward. I wouldn't say it's anything that's immensely difficult. And then if you get through those 3, then you get to do an oral board, or those 2, sorry. And the oral board exam is like a panel, like, 2 or 3 people sitting in front of you. They ask you scenario-based questions similar to that, and you provide answers, you're scored. Once those 3 steps are completed, you get placed on a list, right? You get a number. Banding, I don't know if they do that in any of the other departments. Cincinnati doesn't necessarily do banding, or at least you don't know that they do. They try to pick within like the top 50% or so of the list, but when you only have 500 or so people on your list, that kind of goes out the window, right? You want to have a diverse class. You want to have a group of people that meets the standards that you've set. So you end up on this list, right? And then when it comes time to actually get hired, they start to pull people that they think might be good candidates off that list, and that's when we send our people for background checks. They fill out a PHQ, which is just a lot of questions that you never thought somebody would ask you. Really weird questions, and that's just sitting on file somewhere. But you go get a polygraph, you get a physical if you are given a pre-offer, like saying, hey, we're going to pick you, but if you determine that your heart stops every time you run, then this might not be the job for you. So you do your physical, and then you get through all that, and then you can be officially hired. So I think all of our processes will probably mirror each other in some components. It's just how we do it or how we break it up is probably a little bit different.
And I pretty much want to encourage you. Akron's process is very similar, a few shorter steps, but very similar. Our test prior to our most recent. The last group that got hired, they were on that list for 3 years. So I do want to encourage you, and if any of them are watching out there in cyberspace, I don't want them to get a big head, but they were an amazing group. They held on, they kept their jobs prior to taking the test, but they really wanted to be firefighters. Some of them took the police civil service test and were offered jobs there. They asked, should I take the police test or should I take the police job? I said, I can't answer those questions for you. Only you know what your employment history is, what your dire situation is, what you're waiting for. And I can tell you that group that got hired 3 years ago is an amazing group of firefighters. The fact that they were on that list for 3 years before that list expired showed their tenacity, again, their resilience, and we are very, very proud to have them on the job even today. So I want you to be patient. Keep in contact with the Columbus recruiters. That helps you to stay engaged in the process. Whomever recruited you, if there was a recruiter that spoke with you, if there are firefighters that you are able to reach out to, stay engaged in the process, but don't give up hope.
Like everybody said, the processes are fairly similar. We use a national testing network for a written test for firefighter mile, and those can be used at multiple agencies, whoever's participating in that. My understanding is I think you pay a fee to send the scores wherever you want to send them, depending on who's recruiting and taking the scores. But we do not do a polygraph, so that step is eliminated. Background's the same. That takes forever, unfortunately, because it's thorough. And so reaching out to people, waiting for people to return back, and then doing the interview process with, so I do all the interviews with a team of mine so that I can meet all the candidates, and then, background, medical, or finish the background, medical. But one of the things I was thinking about when everybody's talking is, for the backgrounds, there's an appeal process, right? So I would assume that you go by a point system, and if you get so many points, you're going to be disqualified. However, we understand that maybe, you had an employer that maybe was unfairly harsh or reported something incorrect or whatever it may be, or you have an explanation for, being late or something like that, no call, no show, because you get points assessed for those. So it's important to remember that you can appeal that. You can go to civil service and explain yourself, and then they will decide whether they're going to remove it or not. And I would just encourage anybody that has something that needs to be appealed to follow that process, because if you don't show up, then you're excluded, you're out. But if you do have something you want to present to them, then they'll hear you out, and then they'll decide, and maybe it'll be forgiven or reduced, and you can continue on the process. But for Toledo, I plan on hiring 55 people next year, probably 55 the year after. We recruit anymore yearly. So there's plenty of opportunities at any of these agencies, I think. I think everybody needs people, so.
Yeah, I want to reiterate that at any step in the process, there's an appeals process. So take advantage of that. The process is administered by people, and people make mistakes. So it might not be something that you did. It might just be a clerical error. It might just be they entered in the wrong year for something. If it was something that fell off in 5 years, but they accidentally made it 3 years. So appeal those things and make sure that you're advocating for yourself, and don't just take that first no and get discouraged. And again, it's a long process, so stay on it. Don't get discouraged about the length of it. Or I know the first time I took the test, I didn't know. I just was taking the test, and I didn't realize that the list lasts for 2 years. So when they said, oh, we've already hired a class, I was like, oh, man, I'm out of the process. And I kind of fell off because I thought, oh, they already hired a class, so I'm done. But not knowing that, the list lasts for up to 2 years. So just talking with more people, talking with the recruitment department, talking with background and whoever's doing the process, just keeping in the loop of things, because it is a lengthy process. And again, if you get eliminated at any point, please take advantage of the appeals process and make sure that it wasn't a clerical error or something that happened. And if you have anything on your record or anything that your grandma won't be proud of, start cleaning that up now and kind of getting yourself in line to be the best candidate.
I guess I have a question for you all. I know at least one person's in a process somewhere. Is anybody else currently in a recruitment or hiring process anywhere? Or maybe you have been in the past? Because I think one of the things that we often don't hear enough until you start your first day in drill school, or maybe you have like a chance conversation with somebody over the phone, is like, what is it that you find to be the most difficult or frustrating? We know time. I guess you don't have to tell us that. There's not a ton we can do about time. But is there anything that you guys can give us feedback on, like what parts of the hiring process have been the most frustrating or challenging for you all?
Somebody, please.
Hi, my name's Abby Baker. I'm currently in the recruitment process for Columbus, and so I'm also in Band 2, and I struggled with foam. I actually went through the process, the last one, 3 years ago before COVID, and I got too low of a score on foam to move ahead, but I practiced a lot and worked hard and gotten into, I think it was like a 93 score, so a lot of it is just, and also the physical exam. When I first was going to the practice sessions, I struggled on things, and I was like, I'm never going to make it, but it was technique. It was just going back and practicing and getting it down. So persistence is definitely a big thing. But foam is weird because I struggled with the acting part of it. Like I felt like I was an actress, and that I had to kind of get over that. And once I did, it was maybe a mindset. It was easier.
Yeah, I try to tell people going through foam, it's your make-believe world. You got an infinite amount of money. You can do whatever it is you want to do. You kind of got to be an actor and just make believe on whatever. You got all the unlimited resources. You can do whatever you want to do in that time. Just make sure you problem solve, address the problem, and give a solution. Those are key things for that.
So I want to chime in on that one too, if that's okay. So I'm Firefighter Age Affairs. There's a lot of faces in here that I recognize. I am in recruitment. I am one of the recruiters, and I know I've helped a lot of people personally with the foam. I know there's a lot of success, and then there were some that need to try it again, and that's okay. Please don't give up. Stick with it. I'm definitely here for you. 100% agree. The whole acting piece. I flip the coin on that, though, and say I want you to be yourself all at the same time. That authentic you, it shines through. A lot of times when you're acting and you're trying to be someone that you're not, a lot of times that doesn't really hit the mark necessarily. So I'm going to push that you guys be yourself and you practice enough times that you're so confident that it just comes out organically and naturally. So I want to tie that into as far as some of the struggles that we've had. I know foam is a tough one. The more you practice, the better you do, the more comfortable you are. But there's a physical piece too. I mean, statistically, we're losing our women. We're losing the majority of women in that physical piece. So I need everybody in here to be dedicated and committed to getting their bodies right, especially those, and y'all know who y'all are, that are in this process right now, knowing that we're in Band 1, but Band 2 is coming right around the corner. That could be you. And if you're not ready, then what? Right? You got to start all over again in 2 years. No, thank you. Let's just be ready. Always be ready. Really, that's necessary to be a Columbus firefighter. It's very important. Physically, you guys know what it takes. If you don't know, reach out to me, please. Again, Firefighter Age Affairs in the Office of Recruitment. Physically, you're going to be doing stuff like push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups. We're going to expect you to be able to run 1.5 miles in 12 minutes or less. You are going to be using a sledgehammer that's 10 pounds. You're going to be doing things like CrossFit. You're not going to literally be doing those on the fire department. Some of your workouts will be. But if you're doing CrossFit workouts, that will probably best prepare you for what you're going to experience in the firefighter mile. That's what I highly suggest. And your cardio is all the way number one. Number one. So, thank you. How y'all doing?
2 questions.
So I'm in the process, and I have taken the firefighter mile twice and failed twice, but I'm looking to take it the 3rd time, hopefully in December or next year. I haven't gotten an answer quite yet.
February.
You're the same. Okay.
What'd you fail?
The tire.
The tire.
I failed it by 3 seconds.
We've got some solutions for you.
Thank you.
Okay?
And I don't know if that's a part of your guys' process, because, this is probably not speaking well in the city of Cincinnati, when people fail our physical process, unless they have like somebody who's going to kind of help them overcome what it is they failed, if they fail, they're out. There is no repeats. So if you guys have retesting here, that's awesome. But do you feel like you have the resources that you need in order to find the techniques that are going to help you be successful in that? And be honest.
I don't think so. I do, okay. Do you guys have like?
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I think what we're trying to do in preparation, I can't speak for the fire chief, but our plans are, recruitment's going to be reaching out to the people sitting in these bands. And then we're going to have days that you need to come and practice, and they can come up with some ideas. For women, upper body is horrible for us. Yeah. Like, I can out-squat any of these guys, and I can sit on a wall, and the guys are shaking, and you're like, and you're good. However, when we get to upper body, that's where we have a lot of trouble. And that tire strike is all upper body motion. So there's techniques they'll teach you, but then you've got to work on your upper body shoulder strength. That's it. But they'll be able to guide you through that.
Were you able to get to any other practice sessions that we held here? Okay.
I took it twice, and I failed the tire the first time, and that was the one thing that got me. Yeah. When I went to take it a second time, I had told whoever they recruiters that are out there kind of to go through the stations.
The civil service.
So I was like, yell at me. They looked at me and I was like, piss me off, yell at me, whatever, like cheer me on. And they thought I was crazy, but I had the second time I had passed it, but I passed it without a point, and by that time, I spared that point, so it was fine. But I couldn't find a 40-inch tire because I believe that's what you guys used, right? But I had two 20-inch tires that I literally roped together and hit. Like I found a sledgehammer and I hit. Or like at parks, they also have big tires that you can practice with. Okay. And found that you can do it that way. Okay.
If I only knew I needed to own a 40.
You're right.
Right.
Good.
Hello, my name is Kayla Music. Hello, my name is Kayla Music. I'm in the second band and currently in the process of the Cadet Academy. My question was, I got an 84 on the foam and you needed an 85. How can I distinguish, like, what's the one point that I missed? Like, how can I get better from that? What do I know that I need to practice for the foam?
So as a previous foam grader, you are graded on your interpersonal skills along with your problem solving. And so again, it's graded by people. Humans are grading these tests. There's a panel of a firefighter, a fire officer, and a civilian. And it just depends on how that panel decides to grade. And there's no rhyme or reason of how the grades come out, but you're graded on those two things, your problem solving and interpersonal skills. And the panel just goes through everyone and says, if you answered your problem solving well, you got those points, but if you were too soft and too quiet, then maybe you didn't get those interpersonal skills points. So again, there's no set, like these type of people or these answers get 100. It's again, people are grading and how they feel you did.
Hey, Sierjie and Chief, what are you doing firefighter mile, or do you do CPAT? Which one do you do?
We use the Firefighter mile.
And we do similar to Cincinnati. We do our own physical ability test, but it's very, very similar. It's got 9 steps, and a few years ago, Akron Fire actually we put our test on YouTube. Once our candidates pass the written exam, we try to give you every tool possible to pass that physical ability test. We give the practice, so candidates can come out and take the practice portion of the test, and then you get a try. If it doesn't happen at the try, you get to come out and retake it again. So we try to give you as many possible chances, and again, it is on YouTube. We've got our physical coordinators, our fitness coordinators on scene to give tips, like if anyone's got trouble with the tire, pulling hose off the truck or anything like that. We've got our fitness coordinators there to offer fitness tips on what you can work on. We try to, like I said, we're trying to be more welcoming. as well as make sure we don't want to dumb down the test because the job is still the same. Once you get hired, we don't change the fires and make the fires easy. So we have to make sure that everyone who gets hired is still qualified. We just have to make sure your fitness level is qualifying you to do the job. So we do have our fitness coordinators available to help you pass that test.
You have anything to add, Chief?
I do not. I mean, I think that sums it up fairly well. No, I think now in today's digital age and the internet and everything like that, that more of this information is accessible, right? You mentioned, YouTube, and that stuff's on there, and maybe you can learn things from using resources like that, but certainly I would tap the ones in recruitment and within the departments that you're looking to go.
And don't let that be discouraging, though. I mean, you can't go out and buy 20 pounds of muscle at Walmart. So it takes work, right? But some of it is body mechanics too. I know like a part of our fire exam is a dummy drag, right? It's not necessarily a technical skill, but you need to be able to lift a 180-pound dummy with a 75-pound weighted vest on and drag. And I know that when I told them this is my station, because I know that women will often come to that station and they watch the guy maybe that goes before them, even when they're practicing, and they lean forward and they try to lift with their arms. What are you doing? What are you doing, right? We have all of this, right? And we can do a lot with all of this. So if you squat down and just lock your arms underneath that dummy and stand straight up, and I'll show them. I mean, my butt hurts and glutes hurt. Everything hurts by the end of the day because I've shown people more times than I can count. But recognize that even if you are female, that does not mean that your body type has to become the male body type in order to be successful at this job. You just have to learn to use what you have and then strengthen the things that are maybe weaker than you would like for them to be. So don't let any of this discourage you. When we're telling you guys you have to work on X, Y, Z, we want you to, but also know that everything that you do does not have to be done the way that the guys do it.
Right.
Well said. Very well said. Anybody have anything on this topic? I'm going to switch to another topic. Anybody any questions?
Maybe a question?
I actually just had something to say. So this is actually my third time taking the test, and I'm 35, and I feel like I did better this time around because of the recruiters having classes for the foam, for the mile, and for the written test. That was something that I didn't do the past 2 times, and this time I decided to just do everything I could do. So for some of the females that are younger, just keep trying. I mean, I'm in the process too, just like you guys, but it might take several years.
Yes, and with that being said, that was exactly where my train of thought was. We are typically offering like 12 opportunities for you to come in and practice the firefighter mile that we create for you. And then there's 11 that civil service is going to offer you. So I heard someone say they went twice, maybe some people went 100 times. We know how many times you went, girl. I was so proud of you. Awesome, but it paid off, did it not? It absolutely did. That was her point, and that is my point as well. Again, you have to be committed, ladies, 100%. Bring your tail in there and bust your tail. This one right here always want to be cute, trying to do her little dummy drag, or when she's doing the equipment hoist. I had to get in your face, did I not? And say, girl, get ugly. We ain't trying to be cute right now. This is not about being cute. She's just a model, the model-esque. So yeah, y'all got to really dig in and go hard or go home. As cliche as that is, it's the truth. Fire is hot and everything we wear is heavy. So please dedicate yourselves now, commit now to your workouts and to being successful in this career.
I think too, the fire service is a legacy profession. So that means fathers down to sons, down to grandchildren. It's a legacy profession. So people succeed because they have someone in the department that they can talk to, that they can run stuff by, that they can get that little tip here and there. So now that you know all of us, we are your legacy. Use us, get as much information you can, come to as many things as you can, because every little tip, we always say, there's another tool in the toolbox. So every time you come to something like this, it's a tool in your toolbox. So use us up. Now that you know us, now that you have our information, use us throughout the process. Firefighter Ferris is in the recruitment department. She leads some of those practice sessions. So now that you know who she is, you put a face to a name, use her for that. We are out here for you to be that resource, to be that legacy for you. People succeed in this process because they have someone on the inside and guiding them through the process. It is so tough to do on your own. Obviously, you've gone through 3 times, but the more you've met people and gone through the process, it's become easier, and you kind of know those steps and know what to look for and know the questions to ask. So make sure you use us as your resource now.
Thank you. So wherever you're testing for, whatever you're trying to do, remember, Akron's hiring, Toledo's hiring, Columbus just tested, but we'll test again, so prepare for another test in a year. Wherever you're doing it at, these are some testings if I only knew, okay?
What would you say is like the average weight for a firefighter? Because how you just said like a 70-pound vest and a 108-pound dummy, like.
However much you can carry.
Okay.
There's no
plenty
set
of women
standard.
carry more than they weigh. Yeah. You can be a small girl. We had this one girl. I'm like, girl, are you a 0? I don't know what my pant size is, but you are close to a 0. You can do it. Don't set those numbers in your mind and say, I have to meet this, I have to do that. Throw it all out the window. Who cares what the average is? Just whatever it is, it's you.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
So switching kind of gears just a little bit, and if I only knew, what things should if I only knew about the academy? So now I'm hired, and I make my way to the academy, and here I am now, and I'm 1 or 5 of a class of 50 men that are in there with me. If I only knew about the academy, what should I know?
So Fire Academy is not just about the physicality. Fire Academy for many of our civil service departments is also about the education. So yes, it took your physicality as well as your written test to get hired, but once you reach Fire Academy, you need to know what the job description actually entails. So for most of our jobs, you have to pass Fire Academy with your state of Ohio firefighter card. What I had to learn once I got into class, as a female, I didn't deal with tools, which firefighting deals with a lot of tools. I ended up having to get a study group with many of the folks in my class, male, female, what have you, study group. Yes, you have to maintain your physicality because you're doing a lot of physical things in class as well. So all of those things that it took for you to pass that physical portion of your entrance exam, you need to maintain that during academy, but you also need to get in the books so that you can pass and get your state of Ohio firefighter's card and remain on the job. For most of our jobs, we also EMT, we have to have that as well, and for some of us, also paramedic. So you're forming those networking resources, your academy classmates who will be your brothers and sisters forever, past retirement. They will be at your weddings, your baby showers, godfathers, godmothers to your kids. You're forming your next family. So learning that, again, sometimes you get in class and you say, I can do this by myself. You do nothing on the fire department by yourself. We're a pair, we're a team, we're always together. You're spending at least 24 hours a day, every so many days together with those folks. So you're pairing up, you're becoming a team. So that's important.
So I have a couple things to say about that. Obviously, I have a lot to say about everything. But so I think one of the important things to know is, I don't know how it is for the other academies, but, for ours, you will be put under pressure. You will be yelled at, and that is a means to test how you take direction, how you work under pressure. You'll be sore. I mean, it's very arduous, very physical, but it's also very mental and very, academic, right? And so all those things are wrapped up into the 7 months that you're in the academy, at least for us, it's 7 months. And so, like she said, also teamwork, right? You work as a team on the fire department. Nobody works alone. I mean, we do have chiefs that manage their battalions, but if they're at a fire, you work as a team, so you need to be able to work with your classmates. You need to be able to help them, and those are the things that we look for in a fire recruit, and we look for in people in order to be successful. So, I mean, there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, there's probably going to be days where you want to quit, but it's perseverance, right? And, you know, mental strength and fortitude to say, you know what, I'm going to take it day at a time. Another day, don't look at, oh, I have 7 months of this, so let's look, okay, I'm going to get through tomorrow, I'm going to get through the next day, and like that, and then work with your classmates, like study groups or somebody to talk to, and if you have a question or concern, bring it forward. I would hate to see that somebody had an issue and they were afraid to bring it up. Certainly you can pull, you know, the instructors aside. I mean, there'll be a means to communicate those things. If you need help with accommodations, with, you know, a family or personal issue, just ask. I mean, what's the worst they can say? No, but you don't know if you don't ask.
One of the things that got me through the academy was mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So I say it all the time. I say it to my cadets. I say it to anyone out on the recruits working out on their mile or anything. Like, if you don't mind, it don't matter. Your mind tells your body what to do. So as long as you keep saying, I can do it, and keep pushing yourself, you'll do it. You'll get through it. The body does some crazy things. As long as you keep telling yourself you can, you can.
I think and maybe as women, we probably all sound like different versions of the same story. But we all have to do that, right? And the guys have to do it too. I don't know, my phrase is like, are you going to do it or not do it? Like, and I tell that to everybody in my drill yard. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, right? This is difficult. I'm having a hard time with this. Are you going to do it or not do it, right? And if you're having difficulty doing it, then let's find a plan. Let's figure out a way to help you do it. But you have to make that mental decision first. And I think that's what we're all kind of speaking to, not just in the recruiting process, in the drill school process, once you get out into the companies, right? You have to make that mental decision before you decide to do anything. And also, I mean, if I only knew that I needed help outside of drill school, right? Your family, if you don't have a very close-knit family, if you don't have a significant other, you're going to have to find a network, right? And if you don't have that network, right, things aren't the way that you would like them to be in your social life, then find some classmates to lean into. Because when you clock out at the end of the day, right, while we're still working this 40-hour work week before we get to the glory of working 24 and then being off a couple days, you need that support when you leave too. So as you move through these processes and you get closer to drill school, make sure that you have that kind of network of people that maybe they're not going to know much about fire science, but hey, can you do flashcards with me? Or, you know, hey, honey, or whoever your person is, I'm going to need you to cook dinner during the week, because when I get home from drill school, I need to study and I'm sore and I need to read, take a test, rest my mind, and then get ready for the next day, right? You kind of have to make a lot of those home life changes just to kind of make sure that you're able to completely focus, because I think that's where we see a lot of our people struggling early on, is that they thought that they were just going to come in, clock in, go home, and then home is home. This is a commitment that you're making for us for 18 weeks, and for other places longer. Yeah, I know, right? But it's a commitment that you make for that time period, and you have to be 110% committed. It's like a college level course packed in with, you know, the hardest physical training that you'll probably ever endure. So make that mental commitment that going into this, that this is what I got for the next X amount of weeks and months, and this is my 110% focus.
And I definitely want to chime in on that one. Woo-wee. That support system, y'all, is the truth. I was pregnant. I got a call. I couldn't move forward because I was going to have a baby. Even though I was like, no, I can do it. I'm still running, 7 months pregnant. No, I could not have done it, and I'm glad that they did not allow me to. However, I did start the academy when my daughter was 4 months old. 4 months. I nursed her through the entire academy. Yes, I did. I kept her milk in my locker, and I took it home to my baby, okay? Yay. So The support system at home, 100%. You got to have it. It is so important. I don't know how I could have done it without my mother. My daughter's dad is not in her life, so it was all about Mom Dukes. That's what I always call it. Mom Dukes, I appreciate you in every way. Thank you so much. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her. I took my tears to her. I took my pain to her. I took my soreness to her. Everything, in every facet of soreness. I was not comfortable going through the academy, I'll be real with y'all. And there weren't really many accommodations at that time, not many at all. I had to eat in 30 minutes, I had to pump in 20. So I literally was pumping and eating at times like this, y'all, and I'm dead serious. I'm just being real with you. Pardon for any fellas in here, no disrespect. But I want y'all to understand that, okay, we're women, so maybe one day we're gonna have babies. Well, I had one, became a mom, the hardest thing I've ever done, went through the academy at the same time. Hardest thing I've ever done, but I did it, and I'm here to talk about it. So please ask questions, because it's the truth. It's what we have to experience. We have to endure a lot of struggles and stresses by being moms, and then a lot of times we need childcare, and I'm sure that's gonna probably come up too, Chief. So, you know, I'm not sure exactly what all of everyone's different resources are for that, but it's important that we talk about it. So please feel like you can ask us anything so we can talk about it with you. So, thank you.
So I already went through the academy, and when I did, I was the only woman in my class. Thankfully, I was blessed with wonderful instructors. I never felt discriminated against by them. Some of my classmates, not so much. For your experiences, could you speak to the women here in process, how to prepare for that?
So, okay, so this is what I, as a woman, right, you're coming into a male-dominated field, right? And we can get past the mirage that we're gonna go into this and we're like, oh yeah, everybody's gonna treat us all the same. So that might not be true, right? Do you have an outlet to report those incidents? Absolutely. What we have to do, though, is be less concerned with the fear, right, of how people may treat you differently. And because when you get into that mindset and you tell yourself, they're looking at me different, they're acting differently about me, when I do stuff, they scrutinize me 10 times more, you get this defeated mentality, right? Like I'm behind. And regardless of what some people's perceptions may be, you have to train your mind to stop being so considerate of people who are inconsiderate of you, right? And so I really try to be passionate when I talk to the women who are starting on our department. You know, if you walk in every day and you say, oh my gosh, FAO such and such hates me. Well, no, we kind of act like we don't like all of you because we want you to respect us. And, you know, we want you guys to listen, and we want everybody to be able to do well without feeling coddled through everything. But if you walk in with that mindset every day, then that's going to follow you throughout your whole day. So I don't know if that answers the question or not. I do think that in some cases, like those realities exist, and hopefully they have a woman on your training staff. If they don't, tell everybody, hey, I think that this person is treating me unfairly. Hey, I think that this person, or, you know, this whole training staff, you know, write about it. You don't have to be accepting of that behavior, but you also don't have to walk in the door and just have that weighing down on you, because it's a physical weight that you'll carry that's just gonna make every day harder when you think you're just being judged at every turn.
Chief, what's your from your administrative position, how do you handle an individual or a woman that comes through and she might have that weight on her shoulder already? How would you guide her to say, it's either just your perception and let's kind of change that, or do you have a valid complaint that I really need to look at?
So I think these can be, you know, tough scenarios, right? Because some of it comes down to mindset and attitude, like your mindset and attitude, right? Some of it could come down to somebody else's mindset and attitude. And, you know, we can control our mindset and attitude, right? We can't necessarily control somebody else's. But however, from, you know, an administrator level, I can hold people accountable and hold them to the policies, procedures, rules, and orders of the fire department. So certainly, you know, I want people to report things that violate those policies, procedures, rules, and orders. If somebody, you know, makes an inappropriate comment or you know, touches somebody inappropriately or whatnot, you know, I want all of that stuff reported so that we can investigate it, right? And so maybe we investigate it and it's a misunderstanding, or maybe we investigate it and that person was wrong. Well, then my team will discipline those people so they understand what expected behaviors are. And if it's extremely egregious, I mean, I'll fire them, right? I mean, because I don't want people to treat other people that way. So it really depends on the situation, but certainly I don't want anybody to feel that they can't come forward with a question, concern, or complaint, right? And it could be something that is brought up to maybe the staff or instructor, and it's talked about, and there's a resolution, and that's the end of it, right? Or like I said, it could take it to the extreme where it's an internal investigation, and then it's determined that, you know, maybe we sever employment because that's not the type of person I want on my department, and I'm more than willing to do that. So, but I can't unless I have the information in the first place, if that makes sense.
Hey, Sierjie, if you had a female come to you, whether from a firehouse, in station and quarters, or in the academy, and she just felt like that fear that Alexis is talking about, how would you handle that individual coming to you to have a conversation? Like, maybe I'm just a little, I don't want to use this term, but maybe I'm a little soft, and maybe I'm really sensitive, but that's my personality, and really nothing's occurring, but that's how I'm interpreting it. How do you help me and guide me through what my next steps are? Like, hey, how do you help me deal with my insecurities? Because it really isn't something that somebody's picking on me about. You understand?
Absolutely. And I have not yet had that happen as a captain. Like I said, this is a brand new position. But both as a firefighter and a lieutenant, I have had that someone approach me, a female approach me. Again, we have to go into our policies and procedures. I would always ask the female, what do you want to do with this? Are you just talking? Do you want to talk this out? Do we want to see where it goes? But both as a peer, a coworker, and as a supervisor, going over those rules, regulations, and policies is very important because you want to be clear. No one should come to work and feel miserable, especially on a job where you work 2 days a week. You're going home tomorrow for 2 days. You shouldn't have to have that fester in your mind. You should feel like, I'm away from the job, I should feel good. And then coming to work for the fire department, we're all here trying to recruit you to the fire department. We don't want you to have a miserable career, when most of us say this is the best job ever. So again, both of those times when I was approached as a firefighter and as a lieutenant, we went over our rules, regulations, policies, and procedures, and I said, this is how it's supposed to go. How do you want to proceed? One time, someone didn't want to go anywhere, and I said, we've got to tell supervisors, if you don't feel comfortable talking to a supervisor, then you go to the next highest supervisor, but it needs to be reported. That way it can be resolved. As a lieutenant, I did the reporting. I said, we can try to be anonymous as possible, but it still needs to be reported. And that actually got resolved through human resources. No one was fired, but some policies were enforced. So yes, it does need to be dealt with, again, so that all of our employees feel comfortable coming to work, and it has to be a safe work environment.
So I will tell you the biggest thing, if you're on a department and you're the only female, or you're one of two, you're going to have to join forces, because we'll say from a women's perspective, the fire service is changing. It used to be all masculine. This is all about masculinity. I have to be huge, I have to be big, I have to carry them on my shoulder, saving 7 people at one time, and that's not it now. I mean, talk to any one of the panelists, and our job is 85% EMS now. It's still hard. I still am lifting 300-400-pound people in the back of a medic. But my job now, from a woman's perspective, adds value, a lot of value, because we're empathetic, we're compassionate. The men are as well, but we provide a different thought process to a situation than some men do. Some of the gentlemen I work with now say, I'm reactive, I just jump into it, that's my job, I'm here to protect you. And I'm like, well, yeah, but do I need protected? I mean, I think I'm doing good. And what about this? I mean, what if we do this situation this way, and maybe the person would like this instead? So I think that you have to have a support system, just as they've all said, but don't forget, you add an extremely amount of value coming into this job because you think differently. So there's a different way of thought process of it. We all are still like, go get them, I'm gonna go get that person and drag them out, and everybody wants that. I still want that. I pull up in my Ford Fusion and go, I got them. and I'm not supposed to, but we still have that compassion and love for people and kindness for people that we share. And that's our job. 85% is EMS now. So it's not about the guy saying, you got to be stronger, you got to go lift weights, you got to go deadlift 5,000 pounds. You do, in some cases, to get ready for the job, but then there's other parts of the job. The one thing that Tiff Page is here in the audience, and she's come up with an idea that we have not implemented yet and we're still looking at, but it's a support system. So everybody's created a health and wellness system within their departments now because it's very much needed. But Tiff Page now has come up with the idea that we should have that for women on each unit. So we have 3 unit days in a 40-hour group. And like Liz is on 40 hours right now, she's with the cadets, and she's an outlet for women in the cadet program. She's an outlet for women on 40 hours. Tiff's idea is we have that person that's available each shift day. So if Chief Armstrong's like, man, I got this going on and I don't know what I need to do, you reach out to that person and say, this is what I got going on today. Am I imagining this, or do I really need to move forward and do something about it? And that's your sounding board. And we haven't implemented it yet. We're looking at doing it, but I think it's a value as we increase women on our department and you increase women on your department. I think it's something of value that we provide as another opportunity. And if you don't have it, here they are. They're sitting in front of you on this panel right now. If you're the only person in your fire department, reach out. There's no doubt in my mind, Chief Armstrong's like, yeah, call me. I'll give you some advice. I'll tell you what I think, and then you can make whatever you want. But all these women sitting in front of you today have now become your source, your mentorship and your source. And we'll make sure that you get their telephone numbers and emails and their home address. And
I knew you were going to end up getting me to talk somehow. 2 things that I realized. I worked in the training academy for about 3 years. And what Chief is saying is so 100% true. The experiences that the females are having compared to my experience just 10 years ago are so vastly different and so much more positive with their peers and with the instructors. And one of the things that I found when I first got there and that I watched change is understanding communication. Males are, I don't know if it's genetically or if it's the way they're brought up, they communicate very differently than women are either brought up to or genetically made to communicate. And understanding that we have that, number one, that we have that communication issue is like the first hurdle to get past. And I had so many male instructors. First day I was there, what am I supposed to do when this? What am I supposed to do when that? And I'm just like, well, nothing. You just keep moving forward. You know, if they start to get upset, okay, do you ever have other recruits get upset? Just keep moving forward. And it's that whole idea of teaching each other, because we all work together, like you said, as a team, both, you know, sides of the coin here, to communicate with one another. And then when we talked about this program, I wanted to sound it off against our male counterparts because I don't like it when we just do one thing and then all of a sudden they're like, what was that? They loved it. They love the idea that they actually get to use it too, because just like anything else, their world is being changed by us. And it's not that they're upset or they don't want it to happen. Some of them just don't know how to react or what to say or how to do. So that's another positive thing I see coming through all of this. For you guys in the next 20 years, when I'm gone and we're all gone and retired and you're bringing the next generation up, a lot of these things hopefully won't even be a topic of conversation, I guess.
The panel have anything to add to that? Sierjie, you're a great individual that helped me immensely when we first got together in this committee, and the fire chiefs asked us to come up with challenges that we have with like facilities and gear, and actually Asia brought it up, and it's something that I've actually asked the fire chief about, of what do we do with child care now? So we have a lot of single parents, including men, and what do we do with child care? Because they don't have anything to do with their kids. What are some of the things that you all as a panel, and you, Sierjie, have started, are things I wish I only knew when I got onto the department, like opportunities, like gear, and what are lactation areas, things like that? Pick one.
I'm sorry. As far as gear, Akron is still working on it. We have recently made agreements with our our shops, and we've got multiple, that they will make female cut uniforms available. Not the bunker gear yet. We're working on that as well, but the gear that you see up here. And yes, they have access to it. They just don't have it readily available. So we're going on now about a year, and it's still not readily available. They have to order it. So I think when females feel comfortable in the clothes they're in, it makes for a safe and a more efficient work environment. Other departments may have that option right now. I don't know. I don't want to say, hey, I'm going to go to Columbus, Cincinnati, Toledo to go get my uniforms when we've got shops right nearby home. So it is something that we're working on. We've been working with our fire administration. And all of the other ladies, if they have anything to say about that as well, feel free to jump on in. But we've got agreements with our union on what our uniforms are. And again, we're making positive strides. We're just not quite where we want to be yet. But our brand new females who are on the job, they've been asking questions. Some of them have worked with other departments in other capacities, such as our Explorers programs or cadet programs or intern programs. And they've come in and say, how come we can't get the female cut Akron uniform? And we should be able to, because again, we should be able to wear a female uniform when we're females on the job. Again, we want to be more efficient and safe. So we're making those strides, not as fast as we want to, but we're getting there.
I think something that we all can kind of allude to, because we're all older fire departments. Cincinnati is the first in the nation, though, just if you weren't sure or aware. But, I mean, we all have old firehouses, right? And old firehouses weren't built for two genders. They were built for one. So we retrofit firehouses, and we have locker rooms that are separate. But I had no idea when I got hired to the fire department, if I only knew, that sometimes you sleep in a room where there's just a bunch of beds. There's just one big open room. And you're like, I mean, he's right there. He's like, you can reach out and touch him. And so, over the years, we've tried to convert all of our firehouses to cubicles, or at least have like these partition walls with a curtain in the front. But just being in the environment of males 24 hours a day can be odd. Sorry guys in the room, but just having your time of the month when it's a firehouse that has unisex bathrooms and you're like, oh my gosh, these guys. Just little stuff like that, that just the guys who are on this job, I think like Tracy was saying, I mean, it's not that they don't care or they're trying to maliciously be against you. They just don't think about these things. And so when it comes to lactation, I had given birth shortly after drill school, and I came back out to the companies, and I'm like, man, how am I going to pump in this firehouse? Like, where are the outlets up in here? And there was like one at a sink in the women's locker room, and that's where it would end up being. But I think that when you have women that are on the departments, if you can utilize them as resources to make impactful changes in firehouses, or when it comes to uniforms, or when it says, hey, if we're looking at a new gear vendor, let's make sure that they have extra small, or gloves that are made for women, because guys' hands are bigger than ours, and your fire gloves might fold over at the fingertips, and then they say, well, why can't you get the saw started with your fire gloves on? Well, sir, I can't feel my fingers in these fire gloves. It's just little stuff like that. You have to be able to provide that feedback for people who have been in these positions for years and years and years, and it works for them, right? So we have to talk about the things that don't work for us so that they can be changed. But I know that can be difficult. You don't want to feel like you're complaining, but I think that's how we're driving change with that within our departments is you have to talk about these things.
And if you get on a department, get involved. I'm on one of the uniform committees, so I do tester pants, different pants and stuff that we get for women. I've done shoes. So get involved with those things so you have a voice in what's going on. I'm 5'2", so a lot of things don't come in my size. So I make sure that, oh, we're doing something new, like, let me make sure I'm on that committee, or someone, a female's on that committee, to make sure that we have some kind of representation. But get involved. Once you get on an department, get involved, stay involved. Don't go and just be, what's those things that put their head in the sand? What's the bird? Ostrich, and put your head in the sand. Like, no, be involved in your department and make sure that they're doing things, and you're advocating for yourself as a woman and for the women that will come after you, for sure. Because, again, they don't know, they don't think about it. One of the things that myself and a classmate are heavily involved in was our annual physical. The men get their prostate checked at their annual physical, and our annual physical, we don't get a breast exam or a cervix exam. So that's one of the things we want to try and push into our annual exam, to make sure that we're getting those pre-cancer screenings as well. And when we brought it up, the guys are like, what? You don't get that? And we're like, no. So we try to make sure, they don't know because they haven't had that issue come up. So be involved and make sure that you're advocating for yourself and the women that come after you.
So I have a couple things to say. You know, I think the first thing is that as a department, we need to recognize that these things, they're issues, and they're valid issues, and not be dismissive if somebody is to bring it forward and say, well, hey, you know, Chief, can we get, you know, female uniforms? I know in the past when that's been brought up, people are like, well, why do you need that? You don't need that, just wear that. But no, that's not a culture and environment that produces change, right? And these things are issues. They do need to be addressed. And, you know, I think people deserve to be heard and acknowledged when they have legitimate concerns, and let's all work together to address the problem, right? And to make sure gear fits and make sure that uniforms fit properly, right? Because people are proud to have this job. They want something that fits. For us, we custom fit all our gear, and so that way we ensure everybody gets properly fitted gear. I would assume it's male, or, you know, more geared towards the male body and physique. However, I want to make sure we issue things that fit properly, because it's a safety issue too. If your gear doesn't fit properly, you're likely to get injured or burnt or whatever the case may be. So for me, that's the first step, into saying, you know what, we have a workforce that is diverse, that is male and female, and therefore we need to make sure everybody's accommodated in terms of these items.
How many of you are parents or plan to be parents? Okay, you know there's federal laws that require us to provide a place for you to pump when you are breastfeeding and a place to store it. So now that what we're trying to do, feedback what Sierjie did in our last meeting with the Ohio Fire Chiefs, was to educate them that this is a federal law. So just to say, hey, the common refrigerator over there is where you can put your breast milk and hope we don't drink it for creamer, you're like, what? No, you're not supposed to do that. So they do have to have a lactation room available for you, or a room that locks for privacy, and then a storage area for you to put the milk so you can take it home with you after your shift. One complicating factor of that is we can't provide time for you to come off the vehicle to pump. So that's one of the questions that we have posed to it. I can't shut down a fire station while you pump. It's unfortunate, but I can't tell the community I can't do it right now. So that's kind of that push-pull where we say, hey, hurry up and pump. If we get a run, I'll come and get you, and I'll get us in service, and we'll get to it. So we try to make accommodations, but we obviously can't shut a fire station down so that you can pump. But there are certain federal laws that the fire chiefs, through this committee, is learning that I do have to make accommodations for women.
I also want to applaud each of the firefighters here who have spoken tonight about having children. And I've gone to conferences across the country where ladies have said, I can't have kids. I want this job. I don't want them to take my job away from me. I want each of you to know that I would never want you to join any of our departments and you turn an age past child-rearing age or childbearing age and say, this job took away my opportunity. So please, if you really, really want to be a firefighter, apply. Have the kids that you want, know the rules, regulations, FMLA policies, all of that, Be happy in your career and in your home life. Let the lifestyle fit the way you need it to fit. But don't give up having a family just to be a firefighter, a police officer, any of these male-dominated jobs, just because you don't think it will allow you to have a full life. Again, the lactation policy, the federal government has been addressing that, and we have to fall in line. I'm not saying it as a negative, I'm saying it as, if we have always told our daughters, our granddaughters, our sisters, our nieces that they can be anything that they want to be, we have to embody that same language here in our fire departments. So please, again, don't give up, apply, talk to us, let us be your resources, let us be networking opportunities for you, and again, please embody this lifestyle.
I literally have seen 2 of the people on this panel in stilettos recently, and then here they are in fatigues, so.
You're not talking about me, Tracy.
I am. She won Dancing with the Stars charity event, just to let you guys know.
Just to speak to childcare, that's near and dear to my heart. Does anybody in the room have children thinking about this job and they're like, what the heck am I going to do with my kid for 24 hours? Okay, so right here, right? And maybe some of you don't have children yet, but you consider that in the future. It's great if you have like a spouse or a family member or something, but that's not everybody's setup, right? I went through a divorce. My parents work normal jobs, right? So they're not able to be with my kids during the hours that I would need them to always. And so this sounds really weird, and I don't bougie if you ask me, but like nannies are real things. And I would have never in a million years been like, oh, I'm gonna get a nanny. But there are college kids out there, and you might have to vet them a little bit. Care.com is crazy, crazy nice to use. There are tons of people out there, you know, older women in their 50s who are retired or whatever, or college kids who have classes 2 days a week. They would love to be your kid's nanny. And it sounds like the weirdest thing is the most foreign concept that I could ever think of. But our shift starts at 7 a.m. Daycares don't open early anymore, and if they do, they're maybe a little bit sketchy. But I found one of my previous cadets, she's in college, and so she's my nanny now. And I'm like, I don't even know if I like to say that word because it just seems like something that's like for rich people who like need help with their kids but are actually home the whole day. And that's not me. But there are ways around it. Never let the idea of having to be away for 24 hours keep you from continuing to pursue this career, because there are options. You just probably haven't considered what options are out there. And we get paid pretty well. So, you know, it helps.
Being pregnant during the academy? Go ahead.
Okay, this is not going to be a long story. I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks into drill school, and I thought, because I was 21 years old, and I was like, oh my gosh, they could fire me. They can't fire you, that's a federal law. But I thought that I could get fired. And we have had a ton of women on our career as we hire more and more new women. They're younger, they're starting families. Being pregnant on the job, it kind of depends on where you're at, but in our city, and I would think most cities, you kind of have options out there. Some women may not want to disclose that they're pregnant. I chose not to, and then eventually I had to confess when they're like, what's wrong with you? But I mean, you don't have to disclose that you're pregnant right away. Like, that's your right. That's your HIPAA privacy. Obviously, some concerns when it comes to, you know, going into burning buildings. So in our department, a lot of women, when they get to a stage where they're showing a little bit more, maybe their gear isn't really fitting the way it's supposed to, they may elect like, hey, chief, you know, can I just ride the medic unit? Because, you know, I can transport patients, and I really don't want to give up this super sweet schedule that we have. And then some women, as they get further along, they get assigned to light duty, which most metropolitan departments have something in line for people who get injured on the job, right? Obviously, pregnancy is not an injury, but it allows you to have maybe like an administrative task that they assign to you. Or you go down to, you know, your central stores where all your supplies are, and you help out there. So there's a lot of different avenues, but don't think that just because you decide to become pregnant or start a family on the job that you have to immediately go sit at a desk for 9 months. You don't have to do that, but if you choose to, right? It's also a legal thing that your job is supposed to make reasonable accommodations for you. And pretty much every fire department, just the nature of our jobs, we get injured. So there's something like that out there for you.
So when I got pregnant, I think I had 8 years on the job, and at the time, we were running our own paramedic school, so people that went to paramedic school went on a 40-hour week. Do you do the same thing in Columbus? We no longer do it this way, but at the time, that's how it was. And so I enrolled in paramedic school when I got pregnant, because I'm like, I can go, you can make the decision to continue working. That's a decision between you and your doctor, right, to decide whether you're going to keep working, like she said, on medic unit, 24-hour shift, and, we'll accommodate that, or if you want to stop working a 24-hour shift, then I'll find an administrative spot for you that matches up with your skill set. But for me, I was like, well, I can go do an administrative spot, or I can go learn something. And so I went to paramedic school, and it was a 6-month program. And then when I was done, I went to administrative spot for a couple months, and then had my son. So that's what worked out for me. But again, there's options, right? And so you have to decide what works best for you, what you're comfortable with, right? Are you comfortable staying on a fire engine or a medic unit or whatever, or is that something that you don't want to do? And but there are options, and you find something that'll work for you.
So after maternity leave, is it challenging for you to go back to the 24 with your baby at home?
Honestly?
Well, my situation was really different because my son was in the hospital for a long time. But as luck would have it, my husband was a firefighter, so we worked opposite 24-hour shifts, which is not really great for your relationship, or maybe it was. But, somebody was always home.
It's hard, right? I mean, it's hard to be away from your kids when they're small in general. So no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The beauty is you get used to it. And over time, technology. What did moms do like in the 80s when they started getting hired?
Hey, easy.
I know, I'm just saying.
Easy.
But like FaceTime, awesome, right? So, I would FaceTime my kids, depending on like how early on in your career. Some moms, like every now and then the kids will come visit, and they don't stay for 4 hours or anything, but you just become accustomed to, like, this is my 24 at work. If you're at a busier department, you have very little time to, slow down and sulk about not being home with the kids. And when you're off, you get to be the room mom because you're off 2 days a week and you don't have to work a 40-hour job, or you get to, go to the field trips and stuff. So you make those days that you're off, which is the majority of them, you just make the most out of those. And you find, even though you do miss some things and 24 hours feels like a long time, when you maximize your off days, it's not bad. Yeah.
It's amazing. Your kids will actually mold to your schedule. So, all my daughter knew was, I'm a green day. You're green. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, you're green on the calendar. That's when you work, you're green. And then, Santa comes only after green days, because you're at work at green days, so he can't come. So he waits and he goes to the firefighter's house on the next day because they know that you're not working and helping people. So your kids adapt better than we adapt. So we're home crying because our kids are like, oh my gosh, I missed kindergarten something. And they're like, we had a blast. We're glad you weren't there. But they adapt amazingly. It's a lot surprising than what you think they would.
You're gone 24 hours, that's a pretty big bonding time frame at that age. Is there a disconnect there?
I didn't think so.
I didn't see it in my family.
I didn't see it either. I mean, you think about it that way, and I think it's just because you look at it now and you're like, I'm gone for a day every third day, and my kids are going to miss me. Our kids are so more resilient than we think they are, and it's about how you spend the time when you are with them. I think that matters more than that 24 hours you're away. I didn't find a huge disconnect other than when it came to the other parent not doing potty training the way we planned. But I mean, those are small potatoes, right? I don't think that there was a disconnect. I think that as firefighters, we see situations in where parenting is not the best. We see kids who are far less fortunate, and parents are completely disconnected when they're sitting right there next to them. So I think we do a good job of when we, get off shift in the morning, try to leave it all at work. You come home and you truly just pour into your kids, when you're off.
Liz, how do you do that with the dogs?
So my fur babies, we connect, again, spending as much time as you can with the fur babies. But I will say from some of the guys on the department, like childcare and stuff, they've worked opposite shifts so that, so the green days, the kids go with the moms on the green days, and then they reverse it on our red days, and the kids go to them. So they have a system that they work out. So that might be a buddy thing that you link up with someone in your class to kind of watch each other's kids on those days off. So that's an option that you have as far as childcare. I know it's worked for a couple people on the department here, so that's an option as well. And doggy daycare has saved my life.
And as our departments are getting younger, I know in Akron, our females are talking about childcare and sharing those burdens. So it hasn't, again, I talk about Akron is in progress with a lot of things, but we are sharing those loads and talking about them, and those conversations are on the table.
And that's kind of amazing because Columbus, as large as it is, and even our single fathers, we don't have childcare. We have like no options for childcare. And I think it's just amazing to me that the city this large has no nanny system or something set up that would help us take care of kids for a 24-hour period. But that is a kind of a difficult schedule. But I do know a couple people like Alexis that they have nannies, and it's worked out phenomenal. And they're college kids, and then they go off to do other things, and they cry.
Rich people like Alexis.
If there's anybody in the room who's ever considered opening a 24-hour daycare, I mean, that's my sales pitch. I don't have time to do it, but do it.
I know, anyone out there watching in cyberspace, we are looking for a 24-hour daycare for first responders.
I think there's actually one in Toledo. There was, because
Oh,
also, you know, we have
of
people that work
course,
at,
of course in
at
Toledo.
plants, right? So, you know, we have a lot of automotive industry and stuff like that, and those plants operate 24 hours, but, you know, at night, right, if they work a midnight shift or something like that, or even maybe seconds, depending on what time they start and stop, you know, that is an obstacle for those workers also.
Great, all the kids are going to Toledo.
Right, and all the women apparently.
Do you guys have any questions at all?
So, comparing like numbers, the last hiring spree that was in 2019, would you say, where were the numbers then for every, I mean, I think it's like, what, like 500 people who have gone through past the physical this testing round? How would you compare that to the last hiring?
Yeah, so the numbers kind of equal out almost about the same. So this year we had, 3170 took the the written portion, and 1690 was the physical. Asia, I'm looking at you. I don't know if you can see me. Help me, girl, help me. But no, so the numbers kind of factored out to be about the same percentage-wise. Of course, the total number was smaller, but the percentage-wise as they passed through each phase was about the same percent. It was just a smaller number to start with.
Out of that number, that the people who are in the process now, do you know what percentage are women?
I do not know the percentage of women. Are banded?
Yeah. Like how many, I mean, even I'm interested to know like how many people said women apply.
I can find out for
It's
you,
small.
but I don't have it off the top of my head.
This is probably, it's usually comparative. I'm going to give a number, it's probably wrong. It's probably like 20%. We lose about 56% of the women in the physical. So you do phenomenal on the multiple choice, which is only pass or fail. Really, women do fairly well at the foam. It's kind of complicated, I think. It's the only part we score on. And then the physical is pass or fail. And we usually lose probably 56% of the women on the physical. It's unfortunate.
That's kind of why this is a big deal for us to do these things. And we drive from wherever we live to just, if we've got 40 women in the room, we'll take 40 women because we want to give you all the tools to be successful. And we know that we have strengths that are different than males, but When it comes to the recruiting processes, it's pretty much the same nationwide. We looked at some numbers kind of just across the country, and the majority of women are lost in that physical ability phase. So if we can give you guys the tools to be successful in that, we know you can get through drill school when you have the support that you need. It's just that testing process that is pretty long-winded. And like we said, we don't want to get rid of it. We certainly don't want to lower the standards because we know you all can do it. But it is difficult because we can't say. Some places do. They set different standards for males and females, and it's like, you guys don't want that, right? We don't want that either. We want us to all come in the door, even slate, nobody got any special treatment, right? We're all here to do this job. But yeah, I would say it's the same in Cincinnati, and our numbers are about the same too. Recruiting nationwide has just trended down. People don't want to do this job anymore. We're like, why? It's the best thing ever. But it's similar everywhere to Columbus.
It's a long process, and it takes a while, but it's so gratifying. But literally in this class that we just had, we're in the first band, so like the very first people we picked off the list, 7 people left. Like they got there and said, I'm good, I'm leaving. We're like, you just spent a year in testing and going through all this process and background. You walked in the door and you're like, I'm good, I'm gonna leave today. And we're like shocked when they do that, because I'm like, I worked 2 lists, I worked 4 years to get on here, and I would have died to get to that academy and be hired. So it's kind of shocking, but that's the trend of the way I think right now the job markets are going all across the board. It's like I can pick and choose when I want to work, and it's just a shame that there are people that are sitting here waiting test after test, working hard, and then somebody just leaves and like, I could have been there. I could have been there, but you took my spot and you left after that.
Yeah.
And that's what Alexis said. We're trying to give you all the tools so that you don't have to worry about here. You're here, and you're like, I want that job. That's the job I'm taking.
Yeah, shout out to the guy who quit and I got a spot. But yeah, there's people, it's trending. People are just, I call it the instant oatmeal generation of people. They want things right away. Put a little water in it, heat it up, and it's ready. The work ethic is not as strong as it used to be, but again, we're all here to make sure that you have the tools that you need to succeed in the job. It's just you wanting to go that extra mile, you wanting to stay an extra hour to get the reps in. You had a question?
I just had a question about pay. So obviously it's put out there on the brochures and such as far as like what you're going to make your first 5 years. Okay.
No, I don't.
But I was just wondering, with like inflation and cost of living and such going up every year, is there any, I guess this is for all departments, like, is it something that they're considering to increase? Just curious.
So I think I speak for everybody when I say we all have collective bargaining agreements, correct? So we negotiate. These are all negotiated items, and many things affect pay, right? Some contracts, ours are 3 years. I would assume that you probably negotiate for a 3-year contract. So it depends on the political climate. It depends on the economy. It depends. Raises depend on so many different things. There's nothing automatic in terms of like a contract raise. What is automatic are step raises, and all of our contracts are online, so you can look them up. I have Columbus's contract. I have other ones because we use them for comparisons, but if you do like a Google search for, Akron Fire Department bargaining agreement, you'll be able to find it. The SERV website has them all, and that has very detailed information about the pay rates, when they increase. So for us, the fire recruits are one pay rate, and then when they leave the academy, then their probationary, that's an increase, and then after, I don't even know if it's 1 year or 3 years, like that. And through bargaining, collective bargaining, the steps or the time it takes, I guess, to meet top pay has decreased, right? And we're trying to do that to attract more people also and be competitive in the workforce. But those are all negotiated items.
So basically, you usually have like a local union or a bargaining unit, and they have this contract that's written. It regulates so much, like of what uniforms that we're entitled to and what our work schedule is. It's, you know, everything that has to do with our day-to-day work. And then, so they go to negotiations with the city. The city and the union, they sit down and they say, hey, well, you know, we want 5% raise this year, and the city will say, okay, we want you guys to get punished more for sick time. You know, so it's like a bargaining thing, and it's kind of interesting. I've been involved with a couple of those processes, but I think the climate now with inflation over the years, there was a long time, at least in Cincinnati, there were not raises. Since I've been on my department, I've gotten a raise every 6 months to a year. So it kind of does trend with the economy, and we don't have a ton of control over it, but Ohio is a very union-strong state, so their ability to bargain with the city to get us just wages is pretty impeccable.
I can tell you in Akron, for several years, we had a cadet pay. Starting in academy, our cadets made $15 an hour. It was a very, very big pay cut for a lot of our cadets coming from the workforce. With our current mayor, he wanted our pay to be competitive. He wanted our pay to be enticing. He wanted our applicants to want to come and work for Akron. So now they make a really competitive wage, much higher than minimum wage. More people want to apply. From our class that started last September in 2021 to the class that just started this September, they had a significant, again, cost of living increase, and that's thanks to both our city and to our union for the collective bargaining. So we do take that into consideration, and we do understand when you make a job change, when you apply for the fire department, that is one of the factors that you are considering.
Thank you.
In February. Once I get those certifications, you know, when I get hired on Columbus, will my pay with those cards increase with those certifications, or does everyone as a new candidate get that starting pay?
So it's the starting pay, unless you're a paramedic. So paramedics, if you're in charge of the truck, get a percentage, and you just get an additional percentage to be a paramedic. But if you're just an EMTB, everyone is at the same pay rate.
Could I possibly get reimbursed for the money I pay?
No, so what happens is everybody's kind of in public safety is doing lateral moves, and they're taking your certs and putting you into a lateral move and saying you were making this and you'll make this if you come in with all your certs. I can't speak for Akron or Toledo, but Columbus Fire is an accredited teaching facility. We don't bring anybody in with certs and do a lateral move. What we will do is bring you in with your certs, shorten your time frame in the academy, and then you go through the collective bargaining agreement just like everybody else. You just are in the class. So you'll start at step A and go all the way up. But we don't lateral move, and we don't pay you back for your certs. We're just happy you have them, because it's just one less test you got to take. It's a little less stressful. You're going through and you already got your certs, so as long as you make the grade for our training academy, you're good to go. Everybody else has got to go take those state tests still.
Yeah.
But we don't consider it. We just started our first pilot class here in September, which is an all-certed class, which people think it's a lateral class, but they are literally going through a 6-month academy. So they're going back through drill school, they're going back through getting yelled at, they're going back, they're like, I just had a job, and I left it and came here for a lesser pay. And we're like, but the end result will be more opportunities, higher pay wage, better insurance. And that's the one thing Columbus has to offer, and Toledo and Akron does as well in Cincinnati. From a smaller department, we love our suburbs. Our suburbs are fantastic places to work. But we have opportunities. We have 1,570 employees with plethora of jobs. Arson investigators, K-9 units, bomb squad. We have all that. So the opportunity for advancement to be a promoted officer or a fire chief is huge compared to a single house engine company.
Yeah.
So.
And there's nothing wrong with working out. I mean, we want women in the fire service everywhere. everywhere. So small departments, big departments. But yeah, just to speak to what Chief was saying, I mean, when it comes to working for a larger department, your ability for movement within, your ability for impact within is ginormous. And then a lot of smaller departments don't belong to bargaining units, like townships and things like that. So they kind of get what they get. So when it comes to increases, you are at a larger fire department that's represented by a bargaining unit, you have the ability to longevity-wise see the increase. A lot of people do take a pay cut to become, I know it was the highest amount of money I ever made, but some people come in, they've been firefighters elsewhere for 10 years and they've topped out there. But even though they start a little bit lower here, the limits are endless when it comes to your bigger departments.
If you decided to further your education once you got on a department, we do offer 100% tuition reimbursement here. So if you wanted to pursue, I know Alexis, you got your nursing through 100% tuition reimbursement. So going through that EMT basic is great. You'll have fresh eyes on it when you come through the academy. It makes it easier. You can test out, and like Chief Smith said, you can go through the CERTIC group, and that helps, but we don't pay you back for it or don't reimburse you for that. But once you get on a department and you're on the department for a year, you can take any course and get 100% tuition reimbursement.
I also urge in Akron, once you apply, if you have those certifications, EMT, paramedic, some college as well, if you have those certifications and you pass our civil service exam, you get preference points, almost like bonus points on top of your exam points. So we do offer that as well. However, the pay is still the same once you get hired because it's a civil service position and it has been bargained that way. We also, again, for Akron, and I'm not just talking to you also, once you leave, again, we want you to get hired by Akron, but share this with your friends, family, neighbors, anyone you think needs a job and would be a great firefighter, male, female, any culture. Share that with them about Akron as well. But we do have a relationship with our Stark State College in our city. We offer free classes for college for degrees as well.
I'm trying to steal Alexis from Cincinnati and been trying for the last year, and I can't get her. But there are, Chief mentioned that like their application process is through National Testing Network. In Central Ohio and through the country, National Testing Network holds a lot of the non-civil service driven testing processes. Cincinnati and Columbus are civil service driven. Other places do National Testing Network for bulk testing, and then they get a list of candidates. They go through the physical, and then they select their individuals based off of their scores in their interviews. You can do that. If you go and get certed, you can go and work somewhere else, and then we will steal you. Okay?
We'll take you back.
Then Toledo will steal you, and then Akron will steal you, and Cincinnati will try and steal you. But you're marketable because of that. And so you can go anywhere and get started. Liz is in charge of our cadet program here. And the great thing about our cadet program is it's a feeder program into Columbus. But they even have a better result in coming into Columbus. And if they don't make it to Columbus right away, they feed them into other opportunities in the fire service. So they've been very successful at doing that.
Yeah, so our cadet program is like a fire internship program. You'll go through the cadet program and get your National EMT registry as EMT basics. You'll get your firefighter 1 and 2, and then you'll get emergency medical dispatch and emergency fire dispatch. So throughout the 18 months of the program, you'll get those certifications, and once you get those, we encourage you to go out and apply for townships and apply for private ambulance. One of our cadets worked at the call center for 911. So we encourage you to go out and use those certifications while you're waiting on the process to get through Columbus. Since I've been with the program, we're starting class 4 in December, but we have an 88% success rate for people working in fire or EMS services. So 88% of the people who've come through the cadet program either are working for Columbus Fire now or have worked for one of the joining fire departments. We have someone that's at Scioto, someone that's at Madison Township. So we have people working for AmeriCare and CareSource. So we've put those people out into the public safety workforce.
or Akron, or Toledo. Is there any other questions out here for any of the panelists of any topic? Outstanding. I appreciate every one of you coming to this and everybody that's watching live. The input that you've given us on top of what we've shared with you is really valuable, at least to me, of what your thoughts are and what your recommendations are for some things. But I'd like to close by going to each one of you, letting you say a final word to them, or what would be your advice to them as we close.
Are you pointing to me to start first?
Yeah, go first.
Okay.
You got this one.
Seeing that I'm the lowest on the totem pole here, I think, again, use us up. Use us as your resource. I am always and willing and ready to talk about fire. So if you get my information, please feel free to call, text, email, whatever. I am open. I am readily available. I try to keep my phone on, and people always think I'm like distracted doing stuff, but no, I'm really answering questions and reaching out to people and trying to make sure that people have access to me and access to the department. So use your resources. Again, the fire service is a legacy profession, so now that you know me, I'm your legacy, you can use me. Seriously, I am open, and I want to make sure that women are a part of the fire service. I want to make sure that women, younger girls see us and see themselves in us. So please, 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 please use us.
We're probably going to say the same stuff, but that's okay. I'm trying to think of something creative that Liz didn't already say. I just think that in spite of all of the adversity you will face, just trying to get to this point, right, being in these uniforms, sitting on a stage somewhere, this is the most rewarding career you could even imagine. In addition to coming into work, being able to make a difference in people's lives, you meet people, and those people become your people, right? Me and Liz, we don't talk like every day, but we've gone to Miami together just to hang out with a bunch of other fire women, right? You create this network of people that you can not talk to each other, not see each other for months and months at a time, for years and years at a time. And then, when something happens, they're there like that. Or when you guys just want to hang out, you click like that. And this family that you become a part of when you join the fire service, it is just as rewarding as the career. And I just encourage you all to believe in yourselves, to know that this is a job that can be for you. And if you push through, make the valiant effort to get all the way to this uniform, right? It'll be the best decision you ever made.
So I just want to reiterate what I said earlier. Don't give up. I'm not going to say be patient. I'm going to say don't give up. Work hard until you do get hired. As I join the rest of the ladies here on stage, we are here for a recruiting event. When I go out for Akron Fire, I tell all of the folks who are with me that I'm not just recruiting for Akron Fire. Of course, that's my main task, but I'm recruiting for any job that people see on our job interest cards for Akron, and there are 80 jobs on there. If you find one that fits for now, take it. If it can get you into the Akron Fire Department, because again, we offer preference points for our city employees that transfer over as well, take it. If you can get hired with Toledo, Columbus, Cincinnati, take it. And then yes, come join Akron as well. But again, you stepped into the door here. This is Columbus Fire Administration Training Building. You have joined our network. Take it. Wait. Don't be patient. Work hard to get there. But you are now a part of our network. Don't give up.
All the good answers were said. No, and I just reiterate what we've already said and sum it up to say, don't be afraid to ask questions or seek out information. I mean, no question is a dumb question, and we're happy to help. Be persistent. That's pretty much the message here. And tell all your friends and family that Toledo Fire is hiring. Toledo Fire, join ToledoFire.com.
I love this group. See, this is why I love them so much. And we didn't touch on this, but the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association is we just created this women's committee, and hopefully on their webpage, I'm trying to work along with it, and I'm going to probably utilize Chief Armstrong's pool a little bit. We're going to get a mentorship, leadership contact list. Like regionally, you can get a hold of Sierjie, and or you can regionally get a hold of Columbus, Liz Finnegan, and there'll be a website there, and we'll create that. It'll be in the next couple months. But since you've all provided me with your email addresses, and I greatly appreciate that, we'll send you their contact information to your email address, and that way you'll have it in your network, okay? And before you all leave today, if you can do me a favor and appease me and go out with our photographer, James, and take a group photo, I greatly appreciate that. And for those of you online, just kind of take a picture of yourself and send it to us, and we'll get a selfie. All right. I'd like to thank my panel. If you can thank my panel as well. One thing we didn't talk about was advancement, and we'll talk about that maybe in another one, but if you'll notice all of them, and I know Liz is preparing to take the promotional test as well, look at where these women are at now in their career, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So you can be there as well. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.